Well, hello, and welcome to the Legacy Insights podcast. And I am your host, Moving Money Mike, and welcome to episode number 26, the Middle Class Squeeze. Now, tonight's episode is going to be completely hitting on the current times and economic events that are taking place. So, listen, I'm just going to tell you really quick. Grab your pens and your paper. You don't want to miss this. You're going to want to take some notes. Like I say, I'm going to be dropping it tonight. Last week I was a little bit off my game. I'm bounced back. I'm at like 99%, right? This weather had gotten to me. But listen, I'm here. We're going to be doing this thing with a whole lot of energy tonight. So let's get this show on the road. Again, my name is Moving Money Mike, host of the Legacy Insights podcast, episode 26, the Middle Class Squeeze. Listen, we're here to discuss entrepreneurship and financial strategies to guide you to your goals and dreams. Simply put, we're going to provide insight to get your mind and your money right. We're going to be covering topics, tips, tricks, interviews, talking with business leaders from all spectrums, from just starting out to seasoned vets with plenty of years of experience that's going to allow you to get some of those nuggets, ask some questions in the comments going forward so that you can actually apply some of this knowledge that we're going to be dropping to your lives so that you can get from where you are to where you're going. Okay? We're going to be talking about the things that shouldn't affect you and the things that are affecting you. Okay. I want you to consider a few things. I want you to ask you a few things. Last week I talked about them, right? I'm going to talk about them again. All right. What good is life without health? What good is health without wealth? What good is wealth without a lifestyle? And what good is a lifestyle without a legacy? You really need to know these things. We really need to know these things and why they're so interconnected. Okay. So my goal is to assist you in becoming a better informed individual, entrepreneur, and to be financially free. So it's time to let's get smarter. All right. Like I said, episode number 26, the middle class squeeze. Okay. I hope you've grabbed your pens and paper because this is where it's all going to happen, right? We're going to be talking about how AI, inflation, and job stagnation are quietly rewriting your legacy. I got my trusty show notes here because this is some data heavy stuff that I'm going to be dropping. Right? This is evergreen material. And what I mean by that is that it's going to apply forever. Some of the numbers are going to change, but because of where we are at in our life cycle and with technology, what's happening in our current economic environment, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, this ain't a political show. This is about economics and where the country is going, right? So let's just put it like this. We're in a capitalist country, and capitalism is a contact sport, right? It's a contact sport, right? So you better strap on your helmets, right? Because it's going to get rough up in here sooner or later, okay? So this is why this show is so important. That's why the Legacy Insights podcast came into existence, because I saw the writing on the wall for myself, over decades ago, right? Listen, things are changing. Technology is picking up. Now with the advent of AI, listen, it's like energy efficiency. It's all over the place. All right, so here we go. Why doing nothing in 2026 is the most expensive decision your family can make. Why doing nothing is the most expensive decision that you and your family could make. You got to do something here. So the crisis, what is it? It's a quiet crisis, right? Most families think that they're behind because they made some mistakes. Not necessarily true, because you've done a lot of the right things and you're wondering, why are you still living paycheck to paycheck? Why are you not being able to make ends meet? Well, the truth is the rules have changed. and they've been changed quietly, right? People are moving the goalposts on us, people, right? The government is not saying what they're doing because they're too busy with the smoke and the mirrors, right? And I'm not blaming it on any one particular party because that's not it. It's been changing for decades, right? The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Okay? This is a game of the have and the have nots. My goal is to assist you into becoming one of the haves and get away from the have nots because there's always going to be the both. There's always going to be two. It's just deciding which one do you belong in, right? Okay, so let's go on. Let's just talk about it. This is not fear content, it's clarity content, right? This is not to scare you. It's about to bring about the clarity of like the reality that in which we are living. It's just that simple. When you go out your door, you're in a deficit. I left my house the other day. I spent $1,000 before I returned. Well, just about $1,000. When you break $700-800, you might as well just the other 200 is just that's just dropping it, right? But that's just dropping it, right? So you easily. I spent $1,000 the other day just walking out of my house to go pick up some things that I thought was hey, because I don't do all the shopping and I don't do all the gathering, right? That's my partner, right? And then they tell me, oh, just how bad it is, and I believe you because I can see, I can, but to actually be the one to go out there and get it, and man, that's a reality check. And the insidious part of what the government has done is provide us with tools to separate us from our money. So the credit card, the debit card, the apps, okay, PayPal, Cash apps, what is it, Venmo, all those different apps, Zelle, right? You don't see your money leaving your person, right? So it's a lot easier psychologically to just tap, to swipe, right? To send and confirm, right? But you better keep an open eye, right? Because they call that sleepwalking. You better walk with one eye open, okay? Because keep one eye on your wallet, one eye on your purse, because it's coming down that way. All right, so let's keep this going. The middle class is being compressed from both sides. Now, what do I mean by both sides? From the employer to the retailer. We're being compressed. We're going to go into how it happens on the employer side, and we already know what's happening on the retailer side. Costs are up, and they're not coming back down. Pre-pandemic time, people said, "Oh, because of supply chain issues and logistical issues that were happening to get the manufacturing to the retailers and to the wholesalers, right? From the wholesalers to the retailers. It was just a mass. It was a mass mess from manufacturing to wholesalers to retailers. Oh, is it supply chain? And people were sick and they couldn't get to work, or they masked up and they had all these policies. The prices went up because demand was up and supply was down. Okay. Now I said to everybody that they realized that you could make the payment. Now, if you could make the payment now, you can continue to make the payment later. Okay, so let's talk about it. Legacy is no longer about later; it's about now. The urgency of now. We talked about the time value of money. We talked about investing over the time horizons, right? We talked about that. Investing when the prices are up, and investing when the prices are down, and you will win over time. It's just the way it is because the stock market has returned, I believe it was 15% over the last 25, 30 years. It just always goes up. So you got to start investing in yourself right now. So the pillars that are activated in what I'm talking about here are learn, okay, right? That's the first pillar in the legacy framework. The first pillar is learn, right? Awareness precedes action. So you've got to be aware. You've got to learn something. You can't graduate if you don't go to class. If you don't put something in here, you can't put something out. Okay? Knowledge is but applied knowledge is powerful. These are not just fancy slogans. Okay? They're not. Okay? Okay? The second pillar and activated here is the why. You. Responsibility without blame. I was told a long time ago by one of my mentors, my life is my own damn fault. If I don't like the way the cake tastes in the recipe, change the recipe, change the ingredients, get better quality ingredients. Don't put so much, vanilla or lemon or whatever that flavor that may not work so well for you. Okay. I had a piece of my favorite. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's terrible." I love pecan pie. Right? I didn't think you could mess up a pecan pie. Well, guess what? I got a pecan pie from some place, right? Unnamed, right? Because I don't want to mess with their marketing and their sales, right? But it was not a good pecan pie. I don't know what they did, but typically you can warm up a piece of pecan pie just enough to put some ice cream on it and make it hot, make it work, right? Well, not with this piece of pecan pie, because the minute you heated it up, it turned to soup. Okay, so hey, if you don't like the recipe, change the recipe. Get a new cake, because your life is your own damn fault, just like for mine. Okay, responsibility without blame. You got to take accountability for our actions, our decisions, and our life. Okay, this is what this show is all about: accountability. Go to the Legacy Insights podcast, hit that subscribe button, tap in with me. You know, put some things in the comments. Tell me what you like about what you're hearing. Hit that QR code. I'm telling you, that QR code is going to really, really inform you about what you know, confirm what you know, and also solidify your knowledge, because it's about repetition. If it's not in front of your face, you will forget it. Okay, let's keep it going. We're going to look at the U.S. economic reality check. Okay, we're just going to break it down to plain language. There's a weakening labor market. That's no surprise. It's a weakened labor market. Hiring has stalled. Unemployment is now elevated. Okay, it's climbed to a 4-year high of 4.6%. Don't trust me. Go get your own. Go get your own numbers here. All you gotta do is ask Google. All you gotta do is ask AI. It will tell you. Okay, the days of citing sources and things of that nature, they're still around, but you can get your own information. That's what your show is about. I'm going to put it out there for you so you can go check it. I'm going to tell you to go check, right? Because I want you to check me, right? We're holding each other accountable. Okay, hold me accountable. If the numbers aren't right and you're hearing something, put it in the comments. Say, hey, Mike, listen, man, I checked that. You know, but remember, this is time sensitive information when I'm talking about numbers here. So you can't hit me back in 2-4 years. You're looking at this episode saying, Mike, that's not right. Well, check the print. Okay, make sure that you're saying, oh, this episode aired at this time, and that's probably what was happening at that time. But you can even check that. That's how much AI has affected the market, this world that we're in. So at this point, it's at a 4-year high of 4.6%, with job growth stalling significantly throughout the year. So we're talking about a U.S. reality check, economic reality check here. There's stickyflation. What the hell? Stickyflation. Essentials rising. Food, energy, and insurance. Whoever knew it was such a thing? Trade volatility. Tariffs are quietly increasing household costs. Now, let me tell you something about tariffs, right? And a lot of people are hooping and hollering about tariffs, right? Oh, they're good. Oh, they're bad. Oh, this person's doing this and this person's doing that and this administration. Blah, 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 blah. Listen, tariffs have always been around, and I'm gonna tell you, tariffs are a good thing only when applied to certain markets and certain items, and then they're a bad thing when they're not. Tariffs on coffee makes no sense. It makes no sense to put tariff on coffee, but it does make sense to put tariffs on automobiles. Because if we did not have tariffs on automobiles, guess what? We would not have the great car manufacturers that we have in this country. When you enjoy driving your Ford F-150, your Cadillac, your Chryslers, your GMC trucks, right? Guess what? If there were no tariffs, we would not be driving American-made vehicles because of the technology from the other companies. Okay, that's why Tesla is in the position it's in because from what I'm gathering, and I've done a little bit of research, not a whole bunch, so I'm not an expert here, but from what I'm understanding is the Japanese have a much better electric vehicle, more efficient, more mileage, better quality than any Teslas you've ever seen. But they can't sell them here because of tariffs. Okay? So we need to be mindful and be knowledgeable about what it is that's going on around us. Just don't take anybody's word from it. Stop listening to news organizations telling you how to think and how to vote. Get your own information, decide what's best for you and your family, not owning the libs, not crushing the Republicans. No, it's not about that. It's about the haves and the have nots. It's all smoke and mirrors, people. It's about economics. What is going on at your address is the bottom line here. Not the world economy, not what's going on out there. Yes, it matters to a certain extent about GDP and all that, but we need to know, is the country delivering for our address and for the future of our children? And are we playing a part in that? Are we doing what we need to do in that? Let's keep it going. Trade volatility. We talked about the trash. Quietly increasing household costs. Yes, right? They got to bail out the farmers. What? They got to bail out the farmers. So if they had not had tariffs, they wouldn't have to bail them out, right? But because of tariffs, like I said, there's good tariffs and there's bad tariffs. But if you didn't have the tariffs on the farmers and the steel and all the things that they need to farm, you wouldn't have to bail them out. That's like a double whammy on a taxpayer. But hey, guess what? We got to deal with it. Let's check it out. High national debt. Fewer safety nets ahead, not more. Okay? You can hear it all the time. They're cutting all of the social programs for people in middle America and lower income families. Healthcare is going to the wayside. It's bananas out here. Okay? The national debt. The national debt has surpassed $36 trillion, leading to massive interest rate payments that have now rivaled major social programs in cost. Now, we know that social programs cost a lot of money. Okay, but they're needed. They're needed before and even more so now. There are a lot of people in this country that are hurting, not just in the East, but in the Midwest and in the West, the South and the North. There's people hurting all over. And because of the advent and the introduction of AI and this technology, we're going to talk about how it is getting rid of middle, low wage repetition roles. Let's talk about it. Okay. Data insecurity. Families flying blind while policies lags. Now, so this is not addressing so much the AI, but it is talking about data uncertainty. Now, what does that mean? Okay, there was a government shutdown, And during that time, there was no data being collected on what was actually the true temperature of going on in the nation. Unemployment, um, uh, 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 unemployment numbers, interest rates, all those types of things, the jobs, losses, and gains. None of that stuff was being recorded and or reported. Okay, and if they were recording it, they weren't reporting it because the government shut down. More smoke and mirrors, people. You have to be aware of what's taking place around you, and then you have to act on it. So while that was happening, it was making it harder for the Fed to set clear interest rate policies. So it's almost like shooting ourselves in our own foot. Okay. So if the people running what we're doing aren't doing right by the masses and only by the few, then it's up to us to take care of ourselves because no one's coming to save us. I've said it a million times. We're close to it. But this comes down to this is a personal finance recession, even if the headlines don't say it. This is a personal finance recession. I hope you're getting this. This is not about what's going on in the economy, in the world economy. This is about what's happening at your address. What's happening with you and your family? Are you and your family talking about these issues? Are you planning for them? That's what this is about. The headlines aren't going to tell you what you need to do. They're going to tell you about all this other big stuff up here that you feel that you have no control over. You got to vote, right? But that's a whole nother story. That's not what this show's about. But the pillars here are first, learn in you. You got to learn some things, and then you got to know it comes down to you. Then you got to guard it. Okay? You got to guard it, people. That's what this is all about. So let's keep this thing moving. So let's talk about we talked about the economic part of it, but where does the pressure is actually hitting first? Okay? We talked about manufacturing and trade early on with the whole COVID thing and why prices went up. Let's talk about it. Okay? If manufacturing and trade is being affected, it comes down to our jobs. So, I have people I know that work in the medical field and the vitamin field and in the energy sector and things of that nature. And if they're making widgets and you can't get pieces for those widgets, again, supply and demand, kicks in. And now what happens is prices rise, logistical uh, um, issues happen. And if you got logistical issues, it puts weight on the margin, profit margin. Okay. So this is just basic economics. Okay. So if you go to say, just bring it down to you and I, if you go to the store and you want bread and milk, okay, you can't get bread and milk right where you are. You got to travel someplace to get it. And they know that they're the only one that has that bread and milk. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to go up. So the same thing in marketing and manufacturing and trade. It creates that higher prices, but also job losses, right? Because they're not making as much of it because, you know, the trade is cut down inventory to make the raw materials, to have the raw materials to make what you need. So they don't need as many people. AI is kicking in and they're automating systems. There's job losses. So higher input costs because now there's a shortage of raw materials. And then there's shrinking margins, which I just mentioned, right? Because guess what? Now the logistics are high, the raw materials high, the margins are shrinking. So now they got to raise prices because of lack of raw materials. It's crazy. Gold right now is at $4,2300. Yeah, $4,200 an ounce. Just right now. So if you're going out buying, gifts and you're buying certain things, know that gold is up, way up. way up. I went through Macy's the other day, and I was looking at some things, bracelets and 9-inch bracelets, 8-inch bracelets, $1,700 for a 9-inch bracelet. I was like, moly, holy moly, that's a lot of money for a 9-inch bracelet. Okay, nice bracelet, but they weren't going to get my $1,700. No, but that's what's happening in these prices. The margins are way up. I spoke with one of the store owners, and they were saying back a few years ago there was a 300% markup. Now there's only a 30% markup because of the price. They had to cut their margins. We're talking about shrinking margins. That's in the gold industry, right? This was a conversation I was just having today with store owners. Okay. So, housing and real estate, fewer listings fewer listings mess with the affordability, right? Shrinking pool of inventory, higher prices. Can't afford it. Approximately 57% of US households remain priced out of a standard $300,000 home, despite mortgage rates beginning to a slow descent. Isn't that something? $300,000, $400,000 is about the average price of a home today. That's on the low end. That's on the low end. Okay. I'm rocking here in New Jersey. Okay. So you're talking, half million and $750,000 for really just a decent home, right? Just a decent home. So that's what we're talking about here. Okay. You know, um, Housing and real estate, fewer listings, and it's messing with the affordability. Consumers' rising defaults aren't irresponsibility, they're math problems. That's why this show is so important. We talk about in the beginning with the budgeting. That's why I'm bringing this. I'm bringing these downloadable forms and calendars and books so that you can apply these these 6 pillars to your life so that you can deal with the math. You got to get mathing, people, right? If your math is not mathing, that's the issue. It's not what's happening out on, with the tariffs as much as it is happening at home. You know, we got to do the necessities over the niceties. Okay. I love the holidays and birthdays as much as the next person. But if the math ain't mathing, we got to look at that. What can we do? Right? There's certain countries and cultures that don't celebrate the holidays. They except for with food and family activities. I don't know. I don't know. What's more important? Okay. These pillars that are activated in this particular segment under manufacturing and trade is guard and change, right? So you got to guard what you work for, and then you got to change some behaviors, right? You got to change that mindset. It all starts in the mind, it comes to the heart, and then it comes out your mouth and in behaviors and actions. Okay. That's what it's all about. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is powerful. We talked about the difference between financial literacy and financial intelligence. Literacy, knowing is not enough anymore. You have to be able to apply that knowledge to your life in your unique situation for it to be beneficial. Okay? That's what we're talking about here. Let's keep it going. AI isn't coming for jobs. It's coming for the margins. So companies, they just want to know how much are they making. So and I've said this before, and I'm hoping that you're taking notes. I hope you got your pencil and paper out, okay? Because companies don't pay you; they pay the position that you're in. Companies don't pay you for loyalty; they pay you for action. They pay you for results. They pay you for impact. They don't care if you're loyal. They don't pay you to be loyal. Yeah, it comes with the fact that you're grateful for your job because it's something that we do. right? It's something that it's our job responsibility, right? So there's an ethical part to that. You know, they're paying you. You want to be responsible. You want to be loyal. You want to be a team player. But they don't pay you for that. They pay you for impact. They pay you for change. They pay you for the value that you bring. So they don't pay you directly. They pay the position, and they've allocated for that. So AI is coming for the not coming for the jobs. It's coming for the margins. And if they can get more out of an AI program than you for less, guess what they're going to do? It's not you. It's just the margins, right? So let's just talk about it. You know, they say, here, I'm looking at my notes, and it says refrain AI fear. Reframe it. You know what the fear is? Okay. False evidence appearing real. So AI, you shouldn't be afraid of it. You should be embracing it. You should be using it more than just for recipes and, you know, quick tidbits, right? It's a powerful tool for research, knowledge, and development, self-development, and actually mindset reset. That's really what it's all about. Okay, so AI is removing low margin labor, not just the roles. The national unemployment rate has climbed to 4.6%, with private hiring coming to a near standstill in Q4. Okay, that's where we are right now, Q4. All right, so like I said, when you see this episode, just know that when I'm saying this, this is where we are at. Okay, just want to make sure that you understand that, right? Because when you get to, you be a little dated, like, what the hell is Mike talking about? You know, this guy don't know what the hell he's talking about. But I'm talking about that this particular snapshot at this time. This is where we are. Middle income earners are most exposed. Who is that? Are you in the middle income? Are you making anywhere between 50 and $100,000? Excuse me. Middle income. Middle income. Okay. The national unemployment. Oh, I'm sorry. Consumer health. Credit card defaults are currently 2% above long-term averages at this point, signaling a weakening middle class safety net. Now they're already removing the programs, the social programs that support lower income families. They're removing it, right? If you're watching the news, they're closing hospitals, they're closing food pantries, they're cutting health insurance, they're removing programs and things that they're messing with veteran benefits, closing veteran hospitals. How could they? Veteran hospitals? Veteran hospitals, how could you? That's another show. People would have to drive, in some cases, over an hour to get to a hospital in some locations. God help them. If there's true emergency, God help them. Okay. Long-term care insurance, the average, oh, I forget the numbers. I don't even want to say the number. It's a lot. It's a lot of money. I just went blank on that long because it just popped in my head about the hospitals and long-term care insurance. It's expensive. Okay. Um, there are programs out there that you can in contracts out there that can actually help you with long-term insurance. Talk with your financial advisors, your insurance representatives, and your tax people about index universal life policies, or reach out to me. Actually, one of my episodes, the 20 advantages to an IUL, index universal life policy. Go back to that episode, listen to that episode, learn what those 20 advantages are. Reach out to me. I can get you some literature about some of the best brands in the marketplace. Okay. And no cost, of course. This is what I do. This is what I'm supposed to be helping you. This is what I do, right? Let me help you. Okay. Okay. Middle income earners are most exposed. So it's a weakening middle class safety net. Stable jobs without leverage are the riskiest. And you say, well, if it's a stable job, how do how do I get leverage? And why are they the riskiest? Well, and what is leverage in a stable job? Well, it's adaptable skills. It's adaptable skills, right? So if you're in a stable job without any leverage, you're a risk. You're at risk. If you've got some adaptable skills, you did that upskilling that I've talked about in my 6 pillars, you'd be good, right? If you did the learn, you did the elevate, right? You learn some new skills, then you elevate and upskill, right? You start learning, you get certified in some things, now you're adaptable. The employer can say, hey, I can get more bang out of my buck because they paid a position, not you, from this employee right here, this person right here, because they've got additional skills that we can use in different places at different times, right? They're just not stagnant. And a lot of people don't like change. They're uncomfortable with growth. And unfortunately, those are the people who are going to get left behind. Okay? It starts and ends with you. Let's keep it moving. The truth bomb. Security no longer comes from employers. It comes from what? Adaptability. Okay? Pillars. Elevate and you. Right? I told you that elevate is huge when it comes to adaptability. You got to upskill and it falls on you. Okay? So let's keep this thing moving. Hey, now this is where the rubber meets the road in our show. We talked about what was going on out there. I threw out some figures. I need you to go check them. If you're not fact checking me, then we're not seeing eye to eye, right? I need you to write these things down. Go get your own information. Get your own facts, right? And then apply the information that you have. Go to the past episodes at the Legacy Insights podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Put some comments in the sections there and ask some questions about, hey, Mike, what should I do about this? What do I need to know about that? Let's have a conversation. Okay? Scan that QR code. Get the information from that oversight of financial information. It's going to do you a world of good. So we're going to talk about the rubber meeting the road, and this is the legacy pivot. What families must do differently, because there's some new rules, right? I told you the landscape is changing, right? The people are moving the goalposts, right? It's harder to score, and you're wondering why, right? It's like a Hail Mary every time you go to work. What's that all about? Okay, so what? Listen, new rules. One income stream, you're on fragile ground. You got to upskill. You got to get a side hustle. Okay? You got to get a side hustle. You got to find something that's going to bring in some additional income. You got some extra things around the house, put them on Deal Dash, put them on marketplace, Craigslist. Okay? Upskill, do some things on the side, get that side hustle working. There's a lot of money out there, right? I understand that there's, in side hustle industry, there's something like, $4 to $6 billion out there in side hustle money, right? Around the world. Get something that is just not, that is this marketable, right? That has your blessings on it, right? God, the creator has given us all talents. Okay. I talked about that in the 3 most important days of a person's life: the day they were born, the day they found out why they were born, and the day they decide to do something with their gift. Okay, you got to do something with your gift, because if you don't, you're wasting all the blessings that were given on to you, passed on to you. So use that gift, get that gift that you know you have, and turn it into some income for you and your family. Okay, if you got one income and you're in fragile ground, if you have no liquidity, you don't have any options. Do you have a diversified portfolio of income earning strategies, right? Do you have an investment? It's like we say about 20, the strategy should be 20% of your earnings. Okay, 5% to savings, 5% to emergency fund, 5 to savings. You say savings, emergency fund, investing, and retirement. Okay, 5% for each. Savings, investing, um, what was I just say? Savings, investing, emergency fund, and retirement. Okay, that's 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%. The 20%, and that's how you start putting money away for yourself. You got to start now, right? It's called the time value of money. You gotta do it, right? You got to do it. Okay, no skill growth equals silent decline. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's what they say about business. If you're not growing, you're dying. And if you don't make money, don't make sense. Okay? This is real talk, people. Real talk. No plan equals default decisions, right? So what does that mean? Doing nothing is a decision as well as doing something. Okay? You decided I'm not doing anything. Just whatever comes along the way, it comes along the way. That's not cool. That's not cool. Okay? You want to make sure that you're making decisions not from a deficit, but from a decisive position of knowledge. Okay? Don't make decisions from a deficit. Do not make decisions from a place of emotion. Okay? Emotions and money don't mix. Okay? All right. Let's keep it going. So if you don't have a plan, you're in a default decision. So here we go. The legacy recovery. You got to have some awareness. You got to skill leverage. So for that awareness. Let's talk about the awareness real quick, right? You got to know where the hell you're at. No more sleepwalking. I told you when you walk around with one eye closed, that one eye better be on your wallet, right? But you got to have some awareness. Okay, you got to have some awareness about your surroundings, about your economics point of view, your portfolio. Is it diversified? How much is going where? Every dollar should have a destination. Okay, you should have a budget in place. You should have conversations with your family about goals, retirement, vacations, the whole ball of wax. That's the awareness. Okay, you should be in charge of your finances. Skill leverage. Okay, what about that? Skill leverage. You need to know what you're capable of, and then once you know your SWOT analysis, right? Your strengths, weaknesses, your 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 surroundings, right? Right. Once you know what that is, your threats and all that, there you go. Now you can start building on your assets. Okay. Working on your weaknesses and building on your assets. Okay. Then you got to have income defense. That's that guard. That's that third pillar. You got to guard your income defense, right? Is it set up so that you got enough life insurance and protection to say something happens to you, or medical insurance or emergency fund that something happened to you, the human ATM machine, that you're covered for the time that you're sick or you're out. Okay? That's just simple math. If your math ain't mathing, you're in trouble. Your asset protection is in trouble. Then there's intentional alignment. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I talked about this pillar number 4, alignment. It is, I believe, is starting to really excel as one of the most important pillars that there is. Alignment. What you say, what you do, and your intentions, your actions must be all going in the same way, going the same way, doing the same thing. And if they're not, you wonder why because you're talking about something that you're not doing. You're acting a certain way and it doesn't match what you're saying. And you're wondering why you're frustrated because you're not in alignment, whether it's emotional, spiritual, physical, whatever that alignment may be. Okay. Monetarily, right? A lot of people try to impress people they don't even like, constantly out spending money, hee and ha ha. And then when they go home, they're like, oh God, how am I going to pay for that? The bills start coming in, right? The rent's due every day. It's just, who are you paying? Okay. So your intentional alignment, it's got to be what you set it out to be. It's intentional. It can't happen by mistake. It won't happen by mistake. Hoping and wishing is not a financial plan. Okay, so let's keep this going. So those are pillars: align and change. Those are the activated pillars here that we're talking about: alignment and change. You got to change some things: your actions, your behaviors, your thinking. Okay, that's getting that mind and that money right. So here we go. From being alarmed, right? We talk about it. Like I said, this is not about fear. Okay, false evidence appearing real. This is about activation. This is about doing what needs to be done so that you can get done what you need to have. Okay. So this is my call to action. You don't need perfection. You need movement. Okay. So I was told a long time ago, if I need to feel better, go to work. Okay. If I'm hungry, guess what? Go to work. If I'm sad, go to work. If things ain't working out around the house, guess what? Go to work. You see what I'm saying? See, because an idle mind and idle hands, as they say, are the devil's playground, right? You can get all upside inside your head just by sitting on your hands and not doing anything and mess around, do some things that you wasn't supposed to do and find out why, in even a worse situation. So you've got to be doing something constructive so that you could free up that feeling in your gut and in your body as to why like you're not feeling good, but that will free up your spirit to do some things progressive. You help somebody else, right? Give back to your community, right? That will help you too. But you don't need perfection. You need movement, right? So you can feel better about what's happening around you. Recovery beats reaction. So you don't want to react, you want to respond. Okay. Reacting gets you, can get you in a situation, but responding with some information, being armed with some insight, you can actually improve your situation. But if you just react to it without gathering some pertinent information about what's going on, you could be in serious trouble. Okay. Let's that it, no need to explain that. Okay. Legacy is built during pressure, not comfort. Okay. And I tell people there's three places that most people live. Okay. They live in crisis, comfort, and success. Most times they live in the first two, crisis and comfort. They never run to success. That's the biggest issue with most people. They never run to success. They stay in crisis or comfort. When they get hit crisis, they run to comfort. They run to it. And they get this, oh man, that was horrible. That was horrible. Then they slowly, because they're comfortable, slide back down into crisis. And then oh shoot, it hurts over here in crisis. And they run back to comfort. Okay. But why don't you just keep running to success? Why don't you just keep running to success? And then you don't ever have to worry about crisis, or not as big as a crisis, because guess what? Money doesn't solve everything, but it sure enough makes it a lot more comfortable. You see what I'm going with this? Okay. So take that with you. Legacy is built during pressure, not comfort. So let me close with this. Your future family doesn't need you to predict the economy. They need you to prepare for it. Okay. That's it. And the pillars that are activated there are you and alignment. See, because when you're in alignment, you're doing what you need to do. You got financial intelligence working for you. You're applying some principles. You're applying some strategies. You're putting that knowledge to work for you in your unique situation. I'm your host, Moving Money Mike. I hope that you got a lot out of this episode tonight. I hope you had your pens and paper out and took down those nuggets. Go get that information. Verify it for yourself. Okay. My job is to bring it to you. It's your job to make it work for you. Tap in with me, go to the Legacy Insights podcast, hit that subscribe button, scan that QR code, take that financial overview, get your information right, get that information that you need. Okay. And so with that, I want to thank you for the privilege of your time tonight. Again, I'm your host, Moving Money Mike, and I'm out.